So let's understand the adoption process now. Adoption is the second major process after the diffusion. Okay, the focus here is on the process through which consumers accepts your products, accepts and then later intends to buy it. So that's a final frontier. So stages in the adoption process, let's understand that. Consumers move through the 5 stages before arriving at the decisions to purchase or reject. Purchase or reject the new product. So namely awareness, interest, evaluation, trial, adoption. Okay. So this is also another hierarchy of communication model. Awareness, interest, evaluation, trial and adoption. This is specifically coined for the new product. Otherwise it is AIDA, attention, interest, desire and acceptance. Here it is for the new product. Attention, interest, evaluation, trial and adoption or rejection as the case may be. So it's a five-step hierarchy model that comes into as a stages of adoption. So awareness, consumers are exposed to the availability of the new production. So you have to, through the media, through communication, etc., you have to make them aware, make them woken up to their need, make them realize that this is a solution that they were looking at, so etc. Have the information available in plenty. So whatever the touch point that they refer to, they have the information about your product available, new innovative product. Interest. So awareness through information will create an interest. So something coming. So for interest generation, you may do a teaser advertisement. You may put your information and a lot of comparison much before the product is actually getting launched. So this way, you convey them what is better about your product, what is getting launched. You have still not conveyed the feature in detail. You have not conveyed them what exactly the specs of your product is, etc. But you convey it has a high-end camera, world's best as of now, with lens which is going to give you a crystal clear image. The rapid exposure will, but you have not defined that rapid exposure as what speed, etc. But you just conveyed. Your meant customer curiosity is generated. That's where the interest comes in. Then comes the evaluation. You have to facilitate the evaluation. So consumer wants to evaluate your product to draw the conclusion. Now decision first happens in the mind. So you must facilitate not only understanding, comparisons also, which is either through demonstrations or you create interactiveness, etc. Satisfies Q&A if any, etc. So that way you facilitate evaluation. Let him make his mind first. That will lead him to the trial. The more post mental confirmation, the people's willingness to try your product increases. And then if you offer a right opportunity to try your product, they will want to take that opportunity. So that will increase the trial. And the more the trial, the expected turnaround is also favorable for you. Consumer experience unravels that the critical information that they have obtained about the product is so true. It makes sense to have this, or they find a contradiction and therefore they will reject your product. Probably you have done a high claim, consumers on trial ability, a trial listing found that these claims are not so true and therefore they may get into the shell of rejecting it. If they do not reject, they adopt you. So that's the stage final. If the trial listing is a favorable listing, then the adoption question comes. Based on the trial experience, evaluation manifestation and evaluation matching, the consumers will get into a mood, will create an intention that I should have this product, or he will create an intention to reject your product. So we have understood the 5 stages in the adoption process. So adoption process, now we'll have also 7-step process also there now in the market. This is nothing but improvisation in the hierarchy of communication process, and so hierarchy of decision making. So 7-step process is an awareness, interest, we have discussed, evaluation, trial, direct product experience. You facilitate demonstration, you facilitate trialability. So test drives and all that car people and all give is a result of that. You are giving a direct product experience. That direct product experience will create an evaluation. You are not giving just a demonstration film to see, etc. You are allowing him to use the product, and that will lead to final adoption. He will evaluate because he has actually used the product, and then he will decide about adoption, favorable or unfavorable to you. So this is how the 7-stage process talks about. Essentially, they are hierarchy of decision making process before consumer adopts your product. So that's the adoption process that we have understood. So what are the limitations of this adoption process? Tends to ignore the problem recognition stage that precedes the awareness stage. People get into it only if there is a problem and for which their solution is found, they are searching. If there is a need, then only they are finding the solution. This stage is totally ignored. It starts with saying that they create an awareness, whether people have a need or not, or people have a problem recognized or not, create an awareness. So it says that by awareness is a starting point, which is disputed. It does not adequately provide for the rejection of a product after a trial. It builds in such a way that you are supposed to have a favorable consideration at each stage. Though everywhere it has been written either adopt or reject, but essentially the model is based on favorable consideration, that every stage is a favorable outcome. So you are going to lend into acceptance, most of the time adoptions. But what if at various stages the failure happens? So how do you handle that failure? That is not been talked about. It considers the 5 stages do not necessarily happen in the same sequence. It tells you that there is a hierarchy and this 5 sequences to be followed, but in real life it may not happen. People have means to get the demonstration before even they understand the information or evaluate the information. So these are the way people try to get into, depending on how much enthusiasm that they have. And today a lot of media and a lot of possibilities are there where people can jump that hierarchy. Okay, and that hierarchy jumping is possible, which is not considered out here. Finally, it assumes that evaluation happens only at the time of evaluation stage. So here there is one stage which is the evaluation stage. It says that bhai, at this stage the consumer gets into deciding, evaluating, thus ignores the practical side that evaluation is a continuous process. Whenever I am finding an information, I will evaluate. Whenever I am into interest stage, I will still evaluate. So evaluation keeps happening in my mind based on information I receive, perceived value I see, or risk I attach to it. My evaluation is constantly going on. So evaluation is supposed to be a constant dynamic activity. While here it says that evaluation happens at a particular place. So these are some of the limitations which has been drawn out from the current adoption process or various modules that we have seen as to how the adoption happens, 5-stage model or a 7-stage model, as the case may be. So this limitations has to be still understood. It also ignores the post-purchase stage. Very important that customer after buying also wants to validate his decisions, etc. Whether it was right. So he has to strengthen his experience with the brand, which is missing out here, or he feels uncomfortable and therefore he gets detached with the brand after purchase. So that's also not been considered here. So that aspects is a limitation that we studied. The innovation decision making process. So again, this is just the steps how an individual goes about making decisions about any innovative products. And so it's a knowledge, persuasion, decision, implementation, and confirmation. So what it tries to tell you is that whenever there is an innovation and innovation-led decision is to be taken, we have studied the adoption process. Broadly, however, the knowledge has to be imparted. So this is what is the marketeer has to facilitate. These steps are the marketeers, this thing. Provide knowledge, create persuasion, means persuade aggressively, so that the consumer is in a position to take the decision. Once that stage comes, offer him various ways where he can consider implementing his decision, create a confirmation for him that my decision is correct, make it various things available to him, and that availability and that overall his favorable poise towards your product or the object will implement, you will enable the implement. And then finally, once he decides to have it or acquires it, provide him an opportunity to confirm, that it meets with everything that he thought about this product. So that confirmation could be in the form of a testimonial, or you put his opinion on your website or your social media, etc. Allow him to talk about your product, etc. So this is how the innovation, this thing can be handled by the marketeers. So those models and all definitely gives you an idea, but primarily these 5 stages needs to be critically handled by the marketeer. So let's understand them briefly. Consumers are made aware. So we have seen how the made aware this thing happens, all functionality, benefits, etc. Persuade consumers. So create a persuasion which is building up the favorable opinion, favorable attitude towards your product. Consumer engage in activity. You create an engagement for consumers so that he is in a position to decide about you, to adopt or to reject you. Consumer accepts innovation and puts into the personal use. So he accepts the innovation. You have facilitated the implementation for him. He obtains the goods and starts using it in his life. Okay. And the confirmation is nothing but consumers looks for confirmation regarding that decision. That is what I told you. They are at a stage that despite their adopting an innovation, they can still reject it mentally. I've obtained your product after using it for some time. Then I say कि ये साला नहीं जैसा सोचा ऐसा नहीं है. So he will stop promoting it. So even that confirmation stage is very critical, where you don't allow him to mentally reject. You facilitate him sharing and get into the confirmation mode. Prevent conflicting reports coming into market. Prevent conflicts in his mind if he starts to talk to you, etc. Prevent adverse word of mouth. So those are the things wherein you proactively create confirmation. So meet as many customers, get their views, put them on, etc. before the negativity engulfs you. So the innovation decision process model is more comprehensive and overcomes earlier products, earlier models, 5-stage model, or so to say 7-step model, etc. This is supposed to be the ultimate, or so to say the powerful model. So when given a choice, a situation or a condition or a scenario, and you have been asked to propose a way that adoption this thing process has to go by, then my recommendation is to suggest the innovation decision process rather than going into 5 and 7-step model. So we have understood this entire new approach, which is an innovation decision process.